Okay, now we're live. There was a little bit of delay. That's so weird. Everybody, how are you all doing? Thank you for tuning in. Hi, sir. What's up? How are you doing? Miss Rootz, would you like to say anything? Actually, introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself before we get started.
Okay. Greetings, everybody. Greetings, sir. I can see you. Hi, Timothy. Yes, so this is the part where I'm supposed to promote myself a little bit. So
Oh yeah, on this channel, you have to promote yourself for 3 minutes max. I don't want to, hi guys, this is my name. Don't brag about yourself. Call me everything.
Okay, so it's a little bit uncomfortable for me to do that, to be honest, but I'm practicing and it's important. So for you guys, Miss Rootz, a qualified educator for over 15 years. In the UK, that is. I've worked across provisions, including mainstream, colleges, prisons. I actually have done my research around education. So I'm currently on my 3rd degree, about to write a dissertation for a master's, again, around education and in particular around our people. All of my research is around our people. So that's what I do in the daytime. And on the weekends, I kind of do this. I'm online. I have my own YouTube channel called Miss Rootz Online Education Sessions, created in the summer over quarantine for people who needed resources for their young people. Consists of video presentations. I design worksheets and upload to the channel. Activity books, and we have discussions around education in particular. So go take a look, subscribe if you into that kind of thing. And that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, so my name is African Millennial. If anyone wants to actually know my real name, just go to my Instagram. My links are there. So what I do is I co-own a company. Okay, it's called Black Star Tax Services, and we provide tax services in the States. I don't live in the States, but I'll get into that one of these days. I started a company with my friend in the States. I also am thinking of starting another company in Ghana, and that company is going to be catered towards kind of being personal assistance for the diaspora. So a question I have is, when some people go to certain countries abroad, they don't really feel comfortable just talking to people who they don't know to run errands for them. So we're essentially going to be errand runners, like professional errand runners for the diaspora, so that they can feel a little more comfortable. And that's what we're going to provide. I want to do that for West Africa, and I'm looking also into some countries in East Africa where we could partner up with some people and kind of get that going on the ball. So that's basically what I do. Here on YouTube, I upload Sundays. Miss Rootz, and I do SISTERCHAT, which will probably be bi-weekly going now. We'll kind of see how our schedules are going. We've actually been really, really busy, working, doing this, doing that. Plus, we're getting to December, so it's getting to holiday time. I don't know about you, Miss Rootz, but I've been swamped. I've been swamped with requests to do this, to do that, go here, go there. So we've been a bit busy. Okay, I know some of you guys see me on these YouTube streets, but guess what? If I'm not having my own live stream, usually if I do even go to other people's live streams, my camera is off, because trust me, as I'm listening, I'm probably cleaning or I have you guys in the background. So don't be fooled. We're really busy out here, but we're thankful. We're really thankful. We're coming to the end of this year. This year has been really annoying. Hasn't been my favorite year, but definitely have learned a lot this year. A lot this year. So before we get started, I'm just gonna do some quick shout outs. Miss Rootz, do you have anything to say to add to that?
No, I'm just looking forward to getting into this week's discussion subject. So when you're ready, let's shout out, as you say, to the viewers that are here now, and let's get into it.
What's up? Hope you are well. Hope you are well. Thank you for being here, by the way. Thank you. Hopefully you have something to contribute because I know you do. I know you do. And that's me, Timothy. Hi, this is. Oh, okay, okay. I see. Thank you for being here, though. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Africa First.
Thank you for subscribing. I noticed that you subscribed. I think it was a day or 2 days ago, so I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. So we are just gonna, Miss Rootz, do you have anything that's, I will say with this COVID-19 thing, before we actually do get into the topic, with this whole COVID-19 thing, I know you're in the UK, things are different over there. I'm not in America, but what's happening over here, it's actually really scary. They have a quarantine hotel that they're trying to put infected people in.
Wow.
They're trying to isolate a whole bunch of infected people into this empty hotel because the numbers here are really, really, really bad. Like, I don't know what's going on. Everybody's just touching everybody. A couple of grocery stores had to close down, reopen, then close down again. So I really don't know what's going on, but the government's trying to be strict, but they really can't be. And I don't know. It's really bad. I'll just be honest. It's really bad over here. How about you?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy over here as well, to be fair. Over here, we're about to come out of a national lockdown. So officially, we're going to come out of this national lockdown on the 2nd. But then after that, there's going to be some really strict restrictions. And they're really advocating this vaccine. Apparently the UK found the vaccine first in Oxford, and then America's found a vaccine, and apparently Germany's got a vaccine. And so already we've got 3 different vaccines to suit 3 different body types, or whatever they're saying. Or that what might not work for one will work for another, and there's all this stuff going on. So they're really pushing this notion of us getting vaccinated with its 90%, 95% surety that it's safe and it's going to work. And in Oxford, and then America's found. Also, they are really pushing this mass testing agenda. And that's a big thing over here. They're really wanting to test whole cities. Targeting student cities, because I'm not sure whether you understand that the UK really is populated by student cities, university cities. So they're kind of targeting those areas. Obviously, those people, they're vulnerable because they're at the age where they don't need consent from the parents, but also too young to really be making conscious decisions. I don't know how I feel about it all. I do know, though, that the few people that I have spoke to about the test have kind of emphasized and expressed how it's kind of evasive.
Can I cut you off for like 2 seconds? Because first and foremost, this virus kind of happened. Well, I think it was around during February, but we didn't really hear about it till March. How the heck did they get a vaccine in a couple of months when they said that the average vaccine takes about a year or 2 to even perfect? Who are they testing?
Indeed, sis. And it's okay for us to think critically about this. Absolutely. People are scared to ask these questions, because for out of fear, I'm assuming people are just scared. But also, when I look at that test and, as I say, spoke to people who have had it, it doesn't add up to me. I don't understand why they have to go so far up the nasal passage. Why is it not just a simple swab or, a little prick on your finger? Why is it all the way up there? That's just my opinion. It just doesn't sit right with me. It's just too evasive. And I just don't trust the government, to be honest. I just don't trust them. Yeah. Why should we? Why should we trust them? Have they given us any reason to trust them in the past? So that's just my opinion, and to be quite frank, I'm not afraid to express my feelings.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, there's just some really weird things going on in the world. And this is a Pan-African channel, so I care about Black people globally. I'm not racist, by the way. Someone thought that I was. It's just that I have certain opinions on what I would like our race to do, but I'm not racist, okay? I don't hate anybody. I have to work with people of other races, not at the moment, but I know in life I will come across people of other races. So I know how to compose myself, but it's not about bashing. It's about, I'm just worried about us. And in terms of what we just talked about, we're going to be the ones most affected by this anyways. So like, think about it. We're the ones, irregardless of if it's back home or in the diaspora, we're usually the ones that are in areas that are very congregated. We normally live in those apartment buildings, or we live in areas where it's more urban. Black people really don't do the whole, I'm living in a farm by myself over here, at least. So we're going to be affected by whatever is happening right now. So I know we don't, at least I don't really have a lot of power to, if it became mandatory, I know I wouldn't really have a lot of power to not take it, but if I can help it, I'll try to find ways to get around it.
I agree, and I love the way you just mentioned there that you know, you're not racist. This has got nothing, and I'm the same. Love is the answer. Do you know what I mean? Love is the key. It's more the case of us understanding who we are and our positions and diversity. It's not a one glove fits all type of thing here. People need to know that there are different genetic makeups. We are connected to the planet in a different way to other people who live here on the planet, and it's just a case of understanding that. So it's not racist, it's just clearly being analytical about who we are as an African people.
And yeah, you know, African people, we actually have a lot of cures to a lot of things without medications or prescriptions. We actually lived so long. Like, I know this practice is a little bit lost, but people are regaining as they're starting to wake up, and I'm happy about that. But there is literally a herb to almost cure anything.
Indeed.
Like, people, and I'm sorry if anybody has a family member that was affected by cancer, but I know people who beat cancer literally by eating certain things, ingesting not certain substances. I know people who beat cancer. The doctor said, you're gonna die. They went back home, they went to see some witch, and they got cured just like that. So I don't prescribe to whatever CBC always says. Like, do we really need that vaccine? I don't know. And I like what Charlene said down here. Black people may not express it verbally, but I think majority don't plan to take the vaccine, myself included, aka don't trust the government healthcare. Exactly. And thank you for that comment.
That's my sister Charlene. Yeah, she knows what time it is. And, you know, when you look at the pharmaceutical companies, they're using the nature to create their products. So how ironic is that? You know, everything comes from the nature. Everything has, you know, has strains from the nature that they've just manipulated and processed. So come on now. What's this one saying?
Well, this topic is really hot.
Yeah, maybe we need to do another chat. Yeah.
We'll probably need to do a part 2 on this, because I didn't think people would have so many opinions on this. Let's see what Timothy's saying. I responded to the government consultation saying I don't want to take the vaccine. Okay. Is that UK thing? Because I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, well,
Roots, they want non-medical practitioners to give us the vaccine. Ooh, which means the army might be giving it out.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Like they've they are heavily recruiting in the military, and they've already kind of told us on mainstream news that the army is going to be going out into local communities to help with the administering of testing. Yeah, but you know, the next stage is to help with the administering of vaccines, because they want mass vaccinations, you know. So it's interesting times, and it's good to see that a fellow person from the UK is here, Timothy. Enough respect. It's true, it's no joke. It's interesting times, and I do feel that there's a large population of us here in the UK that are no, we're not having this. We're, you know, whether you want to call us rebellious or whatever, we're seeing through the mess, you know, the propaganda and the rhetoric, and we're making our own decisions. We know this is our body, we're in control, we have the power, and we have the power to say no. Hello. You know, it may stop us from having access to certain things. I mean, we don't know where that's going to go yet, but at least know your rights. At least know that this is yours.
Yeah.
You know? So I agree, sis. This needs to be another topic, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. You know what? We might do this next. Yeah,
right.
We'll do this soon. We'll talk about all this stuff soon. Hi, Donnie.
Hey, Donnie.
And hi, Yaya. I think, you know, let us know if you talk about this again. But I think it's perfect timing to get right into the topic. 19 people. Salutes to everybody. So, Miss Rootz, I was really scared to talk about this because, especially in my community, you can't really talk about the elders. You know, you have to respect people who are older than you, even if they're wrong. You have to respect them. And I don't see anything wrong with physically respecting somebody who's older than me, but this whole title of elders, like, who even deserves this title? Because there are people that are like 20 years my senior who maybe in their birth certificate they're my elder, but I don't see them as my elder because they have nothing to contribute to me, and they didn't contribute to anything to me or to my generation. So I find it really hard that I gotta bow down and respect them just because they're older than me. Like, we're in December, next year is gonna be 2021, everyone's gonna be a year older. Does that mean that all of a sudden we're so much better than what we are right now? Like, a lot of people have this self-appointed title as elder, and it's just, I don't like it. Like, some of these people really don't need to be elders. Like, you just need to sit down. I know that's not what people want to hear, but some of you guys, like, and this is why the younger generation doesn't respect you, because what did you do? What did you leave for us? When we're talking about generational wealth, well, what did you leave for us? Fine. If you couldn't leave us a couple of thousands, why did you not leave us with blueprints? You guys didn't even leave us with blueprints. Okay, I wasn't able to do this or that, so I'm going to give you like a recipe, or I'm going to give you a book that will teach you how to do this or that. Like, they just left us on our own, you know? And I'm going to stop there because this is a conversation, so I'm going to let Miss Rootz chime in.
Oh, so you've just dropped the bomb, sis. It's a difficult one, and it is sensitive, and, you know, maybe some people may feel some type of way with some of the responses and conclusions that come out of this chat. I am 20 years your elder, you know, you're the same age as my daughter, and I'm conscious that I have generational responsibilities, hence my approach to you. Even when we chat, I always make sure that we reflect afterwards. Yeah. I kind of, you know, get you to think about what you want to develop going forward. Yeah. And I kind of take that stance with you because I know you're younger to me and I have responsibilities. And this is not the blame game either. You know, I don't want to go into this and say, if it, you know.
Let me just say this before you go. I'm saying this because it's easier to talk about the kids nowadays that are messed up and are disrespectful, and I'll get to them. Don't worry, I'll talk about them. But today I'm talking about it from another aspect, because it's easy to put all the blame on these little babies, but I want to speak to the people who raise these little babies for 2 seconds. So that's it. We're both at fault, the older and younger generation. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but there's just certain things that, like I said, I've never had the opportunity to say. So I'm going to say it on behalf of myself and other people in my generation and younger.
I agree. It needs to be spoke about. You know, it definitely needs to be spoke about. And to be fair, when I just so everybody knows, the way Sis African Millennial works, she just comes up with these subjects. I get them on my notification, and I'm as shocked as you guys. Like, she doesn't discuss them with me. They just pop up, and I'm like, whoa, okay, then she wants to go there next week. Yeah. So when this one came up, it felt like it spoke directly to me, you know. Automatically, I just felt this connection with this subject, because there's levels to this. And yes, you're right. I mean, there definitely needs to be a question mark on the end of it where we failed, you know. And I'll speak a bit about my experience. The generations before me, so my parents and my grandparents came over to the UK during the Windrush era. So for those of you who don't know or understand the Windrush, those are the Jamaicans that were invited over to the UK after the Second World War. The Jamaicans fought alongside the British and the Americans in the Second World War, and were invited to come and spend some time in the UK. And at that time, I know that my grandparents had a vision to, you know, spend time in the UK, make some sterling, and go back to Jamaica and build back the island. But for some reason that did not happen, you know, and that generation got trapped here. And we are now the products of those decisions. I do feel like the generation above me, which are my parents, got sucked into the system. They got bamboozled, you know. In the UK, we've got like a social security system. So we kind of became really dependent on the British government with regards to how we ate. They provided us with social housing. You know, you got your little bit of government money each week. You didn't have to worry about giving your children milk when they're babies. So that generation just had like loads of babies. You know, all the myths about the paths being paved with gold. So we had quite an influx of Jamaicans come over. And when they did come here, they had businesses, they had shops. I remember being a little girl walking down the high street, and we dominated the high street. Every other shop we owned. We had pubs, we had clubs, we had raw food shops, which is where we sell our veg, and we had cooked food shops where you could go and get a cook. We had it. And then as I grew up, these things started to disappear. You know, we started to get an influx of other nations who took over these businesses.
Yeah.
And so, you know, did they fail us? I know that I've had to start from the bottom. There was no money left for me to go to university. I had to do that myself. There was no property left for me. I had to work all that out myself, jump on the property ladder myself, you know, and work things out for myself. So, you know, as I say, it's not the blame game. We're merely reflecting and analysing as to, you know, what's happened, and if anything, how do we move forward? How do we learn from their mistakes? And I know I want to do things differently so my children do not have to start from square one, you know? So I'm just going to stop right there and just kind of bounce off you. I do want to say, though, guys, join the discussion. I don't want it to just be me and African Millennial talking for the whole session. It is a much more nicer session if people join in the discussion and we bounce off each other and try and come to some kind of definitive conclusions and solutions, because that's what this time's about. So please join in the discussion. You are welcome on the platform. Come on in.
Let me paint you guys a picture. I was going to share my screen, but I decided not to. Malcolm X was born in 1925, and according to generations, he was part of the silent generation, okay? A lot of the people who I'm not classifying people who were born before colonization or people who are sharecroppers. They did the best that they could do. I'm usually talking about the baby boomers, the ones who are quote unquote first generation free, the ones who are quote unquote first generation uncolonized. I have a lot of smoke for them. My grandparents, they were around during colonization. They did what they could do. But people who are my parents' age, around that generation, baby boomers, some Gen X, yeah, you kind of dropped the ball a little bit, okay? Individually, I know wonderful people. I know elders who have done wonderful things for their families and their communities, but I'm saying globally, as a people of color, actually, let me not use that term, globally, as a melanated African, whatever you want to call it, Black American, diasporan, Caribbean, whatever, all of us globally dropped the ball. We did. We definitely dropped the ball, okay? Chocolate. Let's look at chocolate. Chocolate is produced in Ivory Coast and Ghana. That's where chocolate, the cocoa seed, comes from, right? I even saw some chocolate in Uganda. So clearly there's chocolate on the continent, and there are chocolate manufacturing companies, not very big ones, but they're over there. Why is it that we are not dominating the chocolate market? Why is that something that my generation has to think about? All of a sudden, why was that not there? I asked my grandmother, I asked her about why do we not know our history? And I'm talking about slavery and colonization over here. I asked her, why did I have to come to the West to learn about slavery? In the country that I originally come from, there are slave dungeons in the land. Why do people in a country who have slave dungeons in that country not know about slavery? Someone give me a good answer in the comment section why I should live in a country that has a slave dungeon and I don't know what happened. I wasn't born at that time. How am I supposed to know what happened? Don't you think my elders should have told me what happened? Don't you think my elders should have told me the truth? If you ask a lot of people in Ghana, they still call those dungeons castles because they're not aware of what even happened in the castles. They don't know that people were inside. They actually think that they were just kingdoms. People don't know what's going on. I asked my grandmother, I was like, Nana, why did you not tell us? The answer that she told me is because it was too painful. Well, guess what? And with all due respect to my grandmother and her generation, them not telling us about slavery and colonization means that a lot of us don't even know that it happened. We're suffering more now because we didn't know. And now some of us who know are trying to tell the ones who don't know, and we're laughed at. That was a ball that those elders dropped. So when I'm talking about people dropping the ball or people not doing as good as they can, I'm not even just talking about money. Money is one thing, but I understand, Black people, we go through things globally. So I'm not that even rough on money. I'm more rough of not telling people who they are. Again, why did I have to come to the West to learn about colonization? Why did I not learn about that in my own country when I was there? Why are there people today in 2020 who are not learning about that? Why is it that when other people go to certain countries, they could build schools that teach them about who they are, but we as Black people, we didn't do that? Now, if you're in America, yeah, you probably have HBCUs, And that's wonderful. But why is it that Black people in other countries, we don't have schools that teach us about who we are? Why did the other generation not do that? Why? Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't schools that don't teach about Black history, but let's be real here. How many are there? How many are there? It's only recently now, in 2018, that they built a library in certain countries where they have African history and all that. Why did that not happen in the 90s? You know? Why is it that my generation, who's in their 20s and 30s and younger, is now responsible to do all these things? See, this is the mindset I'm thinking about. Because I'm not selfish and because I only don't care about myself, I'm thinking about my generation and the future generation as well. So what I'm doing is beyond me. I can't be mediocre. I can't just be okay. I have to go hard for those who aren't even born yet. Why was that same spirit not done for me? Why? I just want to know why. Why aren't there more Black schools that teach us about who we are? And we have Black people asking, well, why didn't others do it? Why did we not do it? Why did we not do it? If we're talking about Marcus Garvey and all those people, Malcolm X, who were around during the 60s, they showed us some blueprints. What happened? What happened in the 80s? What happened in the 90s? What happened globally? I'm not just talking about one country. I'm talking globally. What happened to Black people that we had these people? We had Malcolm X, we had Sankara, we had Nyerere, we had Nkrumah, okay, we had W.E. Du Bois. We had so many people who around that time paved the way. What happened? My parents' generation, like I said, they were baby boomers. They were born around the 60s. They were alive when these wonderful men and women were out there risking their lives. Why didn't they learn from that? Why didn't they learn from that? Why is it now that, again, 20 and 30-year-olds who on average are pretty broke because we're just trying to start our lives, now we're the ones that are expected to make all the sacrifices? I know you guys know what happened in Nigeria, the NSARS protest. That's a huge example of what I'm talking about. The people who lost their lives were millennials and younger. It wasn't the retirees that were out protesting. It wasn't the people who already lived their lives and are in their 70s and 80s right now that were protesting. It was the 20-year-olds. It was the 30-year-olds who had nothing to. They were the ones who were putting their lives at risk for the whole population. I have nothing against people who are older and are able to enjoy their lives. But some of them, what did you do? What did you do in your 20s and 30s and your 40s and your 50s? What did you do? What did you do? You didn't do anything. And now all of a sudden, because you're in your 60s, 70s, you're only thinking about retirement. But what did you do before you retired? You're putting all those responsibilities on us. People are talking about group economics. Let me know which 20-year-old has $20,000 to invest. I'll wait. Let me know which 30-year-old has $30,000 to invest. When we're talking about group economics, it's actually harder for us because we have less capital. But you guys have more capital on average. You know, I'm gonna stop right there before I go again. But Miss Rootz, did you have anything to add to that?
You get your breath back there.
Yeah,
let it out. No, it's one of those topics where I think it does impact all of us to an extent because it has had this ripple effect, hasn't it? And yeah, I think people do need to take some responsibility. I do believe there was an element of selfishness that took place. Therefore, I don't know, there was a lot of programming that took place also. You cannot deny that, it's a clever system. It's a clever society that we're living in the West. You know, these programs are very subtle and deep, you know. If you think about the media, technology, the images that were shown, I mean, it's easy to have been bamboozled, but you're right, with leaders and ancestors and elders like Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey, and, you know, music, reggae music, the hip hop scene. I mean, how is it, you know, you got blinkered? I don't know the answer to that, because that's not my generation. That's the generation above. My generation have begun to wake up, you know. So I'm of a generation that is asking these questions also. You know, as you say, it's the baby, the people who were born in the 60s. Why did you get bamboozled? I mean, there's elements of self-hate there, isn't there? There was this idolizing of the other nations. It has to have been that we wanted a piece of that pie. It must have been. But at the same time, you know, why you didn't look at your offsprings and realize what they would have needed coming up? Why? I don't think there was much long-term planning. I think people were just living for the moment, living for the day. I don't know why there wasn't any long-term visions. It throws me off as well. I don't have the answers to this, honestly, because for me, you know, when I had my children, straight away I started thinking about their future. Like, oh my gosh, what is it I now have to do to make sure my little babies are going to be okay? You know, so as I say, I don't know the answers. I honestly don't know. And as I say, it's not the blame game, but it is for people to reflect and understand and learn from it. But there is a huge void there that took place, maybe 20 years worth of distortness that we're now trying to play catch up on. You know, I mean, we should have stuff on the continent already. We should have built up the Caribbean islands. Come on now. What were we playing at? Those islands were ours. They're not now. It's gone. We missed that boat. We missed that opportunity. Definitely, Africa, we should be in a better place with regards to our relationship with continental Africans. You know, we're literally starting from square one here. So, yeah, that's how I feel. I think you're right. I think we should be passionate about this and reflective and prepared to move forward with this.
Okay, even if it's not economics though, why did people not tell their children who they are? Like, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about inheritances of speaking to your kids of how wonderful and powerful they are. Like, as a people, we've inherited a lot of bad things from previous generations. I'm just gonna call it out. We did. I don't know why some people on this comments are saying, well, you know, it was white supremacist. It was. But we need to also be accountable for our actions as well. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Someone has me blindfolded, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna continuously be blindfolded for the rest of my life. No, 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 no. There aren't enough programs out there for us. Why are we continuously depending on other people to take care of us? Why are we doing that? I have somebody in the background, and I'm gonna add them to this stream.
Great. Yay, Donnie. Hey, bro.
Peace, family. Peace and power.
Peace. Good to see you.
Oh, good. I just wanted to say, every chance I get, I place the blame where it lies at. On colonization, on the Tubob, on the Mzungu, on this whole system that they spent the last 400 or 500 years putting into place. That's where, you know, we can't, you can't treat stop a bullet wound by just putting a Band-Aid over the entrance or even sewing it up. You got to remove the bullet and patch up whatever organs, whatever's been damaged, and then you sew it up to heal the wound. The problem is we can't get to pulling the bullet out because every time you turn around it's an attack. This thing has been put together in such a way that we under attack in the home, we under attack in the school system, we under attack at work, we under attack in the media, from what we see in TV, radio. It's coming from so many different angles that when we fight one, there's 10 more attacks coming from 10 more different directions. So I think that's the problem. I give you just a brief example. My grandfather was born, and I'm from the U.S. and was born in North Carolina, and he was a sharecropper. He's still living. He's 92 now, I believe. He grew up sharecropping. And he said to his father he was tired of every harvest coming around. Bazungu, who farmed that they were sharecropping on, would tell his father that, oh, you know what, James, you still in the hole. You're going to have to work another year. So he did that till he was 14 when he decided this was enough for him. So he moved. He moved to D.C., Washington, D.C., from North Carolina at 14 years old. And you know what they told him when he left? He said, boy, you're going to die if you leave from up here. And he said to himself, I'm dying right now. So with a elementary age education, he left North Carolina sharecropping to move to D.C. So he made a life for himself. He got married in D.C., had 7 daughters, and with a elementary age education, every time I see him, he had a new car. He owned his own home. He took care of 7 kids, 7 daughters that all had a bunch of kids amongst us, and I don't know, I can't even tell you how many grandkids that this guy with elementary age education took care of, and me being one of them. My mother had 5 kids, and we stayed over there, and this man worked and he took care of us and did the best he could do. And I think he did leave something for the next generation. He is my idol for what I see a man is. For what I see, how I try to love my wife and take care of my kids, this man is my blueprint. He's still here. He didn't leave me no money, but he left me an example of how a man should take care of his family. So they are examples, but we can't fix the problem. It's always, let's say this, it's always personal responsibility. That's a given. We all personally responsible for our parts. But when you understand the magnitude of what was done to us as a people, and the how much they hold, how much power they hold, everything coming across the TV is owned not by us. So all the images we see, all the books in school. I grew up in school, and the only Black history I learned in school was Martin Luther King, Have a Dream, and slavery.
Yeah.
That was it. Malcolm X, but he was always the bad guy.
Yeah.
That was the totality of my Black history education in school. It wasn't until I became older, and I guess around 17, 18, I grew up in, I was born in the early 70s, but early 70s, but I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and that's when I kind of got conscious, when Black hip hop and stuff came out, and it was a movement like KRS-One and Public Enemy and groups that were talking about Black consciousness. That woke me up. But what did they do to that? The same thing they do to every other movement. They hijack it, and it turned from being conscious to gangster rap, murder, death, kill, bees and hoes, and get money and every, and that was it. So every chance we get, they do it. And lastly, before I shut up, I always had this conversation with my youngest brother, and we battle because we got different opinions on how this thing works. He just want to be left alone. He wants to buy some land and be a farmer, and just want to be left alone by the Mzungu and live a life. But I said it's fine, but how you gonna do that here? Everywhere you do it here, they won't leave us alone. We can't even have a YouTube page and a black forum without them chiming in, and we don't do that. I don't go on no white supremacist forums and comment on their stuff, but we can't, wherever we go, wherever we do, they always in the midst trying to start confusion. So like I say, to summarize it, they are great examples of those who did what they can do, but we're fighting a war against overwhelming force that is on multiple battlefronts trying to take us out. Once you know better, now you got the option to try and do better. And personally, what I try to do, and the only reason I started a YouTube page in the first place, is to leave some knowledge and some understanding for my children. I got kids in the 30s. I got daughters in the 30s, and I want to leave a blueprint for them on how they should think, how they should live, and how a man should treat them. So I guess that would be my blueprint. Yeah, and I do want to leave. When I leave out of here, I'm gonna leave them a couple dollars because I don't know if my parents was able to do it to me. No, matter of fact, let me give you one more story. I know I done talked for a long time. I'm gonna give you the story about my other grandparent, my other grandmother. She came up different. They came up in Washington D.C. And they were doing well. Her grandfather was a lawyer or a doctor in the early late early 1900s. She always say they grew up and they had money. She always told me about Duke Ellington was her cousin, and her father was a musician, but they lost their money in the Great Depression. So when the banks went under, they lost all what they had and had to start over again. So once again, they did it to us again. And after my grandfather owned his own house in Washington, D.C., and I looked it up, now this house that they probably paid back then $5,000 for is almost $1 million, and probably some Zulus living in it today. But after my great-grandfather died, and once again trusted another Mzungu, they stole that house from underneath them. So there's so many ways, and the whole system is set up for us to fail. So, I don't think we should be as hard on our elders, but in this thing for freedom, in this fight, this is a generational thing. We can't solve 500 years of oppression, and I don't know how long it's been, in 100 years, without having some money, resources, and power. And we're not going to be able to do it living beside them, because they've proven and shown that every time we do, they won't leave us alone. The Rosewoods, the Black Wall Streets, there's plenty of neighborhoods that I can think of that we did just that. And they even dropped bombs on us. They did everything in their power to make sure. It's a family now, and they brought some acres in Maryland, not Maryland, in the Midwest somewhere in the U.S. They got together, poured their money to buy and to set up their own community. And the Mzungu is fighting them left and right to get permits and everything they can.
Not gonna exist.
Just to build it.
50 years.
So I don't know how we do it in the middle of a battle zone. The only thing I can say, and what I tell people now, is we're going to have to go back to the motherland and do it amongst our own, so we can do it without them fighting us. And we're going to have to educate them, and they're going to have to educate us, and we're going to have to do what works best for our family. And I'll leave it at that.
I like the way you ended that there with a bit of a solution, bro. I love that solution, and that resonates 100% with me and my mindset and what my spirit's telling me to do. you know, instead of trying to fight them. You know, when I say them, I think everybody knows what I'm referring to. It's the system we're fighting against. So instead of trying to, which is excess energy, this is stress. This is you know, avoidable, because we have a whole continent of our own, and it's waiting for us. It's calling us even during this time. Many of us are hearing the calling. Many of us feel that pull towards it. You know, it's almost like a blank canvas waiting for us to return. So I just wanted to chime in there on that solution, and maybe we can go more into that a little bit later. But it's definitely worth us talking about and knowing that it is there. It's an option.
Can I say this too? A lot of us are dealing with post-traumatic slavery syndrome. A lot of us are. I don't want to, you know, I just want to make sure that we're not victim blaming, because it's like, you know, we've been raped, murdered. All of us and our ancestors has been victims of this. And, you know, you can't blame the victim, because a lot of times, you know, everybody can't handle it. And like my grandmother saying, when I told you they lost everything, her father couldn't handle it. I mean, he became a drunk. He started to drink, and, you know, his life went down from there. He couldn't handle that, and all of us don't have the strength to be able to handle it. And it's people are hurting today. And all generations, kids and stuff they're going through, and they losing it. So those of us that have the composure to keep fighting, they're gonna have to fight. And y'all young people, every war is the young people. They don't recruit no 40, 50-year-old dudes like me to go and be on the front lines. They recruit 17, 18-year-olds because y'all young and y'all ain't scared to die. So they throw y'all out there on the front line to fight. And I wish it wasn't like that, but we need strong, you know, and we need that strength. So, you know, everybody got a part to play. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you're right. And I just want to just add on to the end of that, like, the young people are the future. So, you know, back to the topic, we have responsibilities as their elders to guide them and at least share our experiences. I do feel there's a blur. You know, there's many people that are my age that still think they're 25. You know, it's very hard to differentiate between African Millennials generation and mine these days. You know, when I was younger, you could tell that generational difference just by the clothes they wore. Now you've got people who are in their 50s that think it's cool to still try and fit into the clothes of a 20-year-old. I mean, I know I'm generalizing and I make jest, but I know you must conceive what I'm trying to say. You know, people are not stepping up to their responsibilities. They say in the spiritual realm that we kind of every 7 years we kind of graduate in spiritual abilities, so to speak. We are every 7 years we grow, right? And it's like we don't want that growth. We don't want to accept that we're getting older. I mean, that's a Western concept as well. You know, we want to stay young forever, but the nature doesn't say that. That don't work in Mother Nature. Mother Nature's waiting for the youngest to come true and be better than we were. So I just feel that we need to now step into our zones and understand our positions and the hierarchy, so to speak, if you like, because it's that generation now. It's up to them.
And before I let Denise speak, I agree with you, Miss Rootz. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's like an Olympic race. You're supposed to pass the baton to the next generation, not drop it, not throw it like a football. You're supposed to pass it to us, not drop it on the floor. You know, and some people have just been dropping the baton on the floor. It's hard. It's hard what the younger generation has to go through. Okay? No offense to anybody, but I even feel bad for the younger ones. With this social media attacks, I don't know how they're going to develop. We need to really make sure that we're really taking care of the young kids because they're being attacked from so many directions. If anyone has young children on this panel, you know that especially in the West, they're teaching them about LGBTQ studies. I could proudly say when I was in school, I didn't know anything about LGBTQ. I could proudly say that. But for my nieces and nephews that are coming up, I don't even know how their parents are going to deal with that. Denise, did you have anything to add to that? I'm so sorry that we took so long to get you. But please speak. I love your Southern voice. Please.
Shalom, shalom, African Millennial, shalom, Miss Rootz, shalom, my brother Donnie. I'm not an elder, but I'm right there. Me and Donnie are close in age. I'm 50 as well. And I have 4 children. My oldest daughter is 31, and then my youngest, my only, he's 9. So I understand what you're saying about, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if that was me or not. But I understand what you're saying. They are teaching the LGBTQ stuff, and I'm not comfortable with that. So right now, my son is being homeschooled and probably will continue to be homeschooled because that's not something that I want him to learn. But back to your the topic of your live, did Black elders in the community fail us? Yes, but you have to understand that this is a spiritual thing, like my brother said earlier. It just is. I grew up in the 80s, just like Donnie did. And I grew up with seeing father and mother homes. But when the crack era hit, let's say like 85, 86, it went downhill from there. They were already, like they said, redlining us. They were already, disenfranchising us. They were already like, keeping us from the best jobs or paying us like really low wages. And we are a spiritual people anyway. So when we go to the church and we go there to get clarity, we go there to get understanding, and we go there to get direction. And then when you having the pastor tell you just to pray, the Lord gonna save you. Just pray, not to fight back, not to stand up, but just to pray. So those are our elders right now. Whereas you have people like me, and they're a little bit more, in your face that will fight you. It's the younger generation. It's the millennials, like African Millennial, that's going to have to take this thing forward, because my generation and the people that's older than me, all we were taught to pray, pray, pray. The Lord will deliver you. The Lord will provide. Pray. It was never the fight thing, because they would always tell you that you're just gonna make it worse for yourself. You're gonna make it worse for your people because they're gonna come and do this. They're gonna come and do that. So it's a deep instilled fear within our elders right now. So they can't pass on that power. They can't pass on that fight because they don't have it. It was beat out of them. It was tortured out of them. So we coming around now as to, as the Bible says, that we're going to get all that back. He's going to restore all that unto us. That's why you see the kids are not scared. You see them, taking charge and taking hold of the problem, because it is now that season. It is now that time. Before, it wasn't the season. It wasn't the time. But now it is. And that's why you're seeing the changes going on around the globe, not just in the United States, not just in the UK, but globally is going on. So now is the time. But she has, our sister, African Millennial, she has justified anger. She's right, because the ball was dropped, the baton was dropped and kicked. It was kicked like a couple of miles. So it's putting a lot of work on our younger people, and she is justified within her anger. But now what do we do? And it's happening like it's not even anything that we got to talk about. It's just unfolding on its own, because you got people everywhere rising up. It's just that time. So I'll let somebody else speak.
I think Amara and Mr. Mukisa came at the same time. Amara, do you just want to go first? I guess I'll just go in the order of the screen.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Amara.
Okay, I just wanted to come in and support your channel. Hello, how you doing today? How you doing? How's everybody doing?
Peace, my brother.
Hey, Amara.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just came to support your channel. I never knew you had a channel. And I said, my Ghana sister got a channel. Let me come over and support. Let me show some love. So, is this brand new? You just started it, or has it been going on for a while?
It's been a couple of months, but I don't post much.
Oh, okay. Well, I just came in. I see it, saw it. I don't know what the topic is, but I just came in to show some love. You know.
Thank you. Did you?
And I'm just gonna step out for a minute. I'm really busy right now, so I just
Oh,
want to come
okay.
in and show some love to you and support. Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Peace,
Thank you.
bro.
I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right. All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Mr. Amara, everybody. Mr. Mukisa, did you have anything to add to that? Thank you for being here, by the way. I appreciate it. You are new. And I forgot to say, Denise, thank you. I appreciate it as well. Mr. Mukisa, did you have anything to add to that?
Okay, let me just tell these children in the background to be quiet because they're starting to act up now that I'm starting to speak. So give me just 2 seconds. Yo, can you keep it down? I'm sorry about that. You know how they be getting, like the minute the adults start to speak, these kids just be coming out of nowhere. Then they want cookies, anyway. Thank you for reaching out. I'm actually really glad you've reached out. I just want to put a bit of context. Yeah, I have a channel and it's mostly about me basically passing judgment on others. I hate to put it like that, but that's essentially what it is. It's very easy to pass judgment, but I made a bad judgment call the other day and it forced me to recline back and be more introspective because it's so easy to judge other people who make mistakes when you're not in their shoes, you understand? So to put it in the context of this live, I'm a person who would have been so easy to judge elders. It's so easy to judge them because a lot of the things that we reap is because of things they might not have done effectively, Maybe they didn't march enough, maybe they didn't, go to government houses, and maybe they weren't instilling enough power in their children. There's just so many things, But I think Donnie had a salient point in that a lot of melanated people around the world, not exclusive to the States, the Caribbean, Africa, we all have gunshot wounds in a sense, and we don't have the adequate tools to recover. Actually, the state puts more emphasis in giving us distractions as a means to make us think we're recovering. So they give us the Megan Thee Stallions. They give us so many distractions in the media that we can just neglect ourselves rather than like getting real solutions, So I feel like it's I don't really have anything to add in that. Yeah, power's with us, One thing I can say that I wish my parents did and other elders did, because I am quite young, is that speaking power into another human being is a very powerful thing, Speaking power into someone, making them know they're loved and that they have power, because when we go through the schools, a lot of us don't feel right when we come out. It's very hard being in a school when you're just other black people, and when you're going and they're telling you all the time that they're not a lot of you are going to make it in the industry, not a lot of you are going to make it in like these office type jobs, So we can come out of that feeling so wounded and so hurt before we've even gone out into the world. And it's such a powerful thing that you can tell your child that we love you, and to really discuss things with your children. I know African Millennial had touched on it, but I think I want to expound on it a little bit further, is that we don't know what the kids are learning nowadays. I know she mentioned the LGBTQ thing, but even with that, there's like even porn or just so many sensitive topics that you don't know that kids know. And because we're such a wounded people, we have to be very diligent in making sure we discuss themes about, because they reach out to those things are the remedies to the pain they're feeling, you know? So if we have porn or access pornographic images, me having a low self-esteem might start watching pornographic media. You get what I'm saying? Because the parents are too shy to discuss things and to empower them and be like, you don't need to look at those images to feel good. The child is going to now start watching those things. They're now going to start watching these idols and all of that jazz, and that's going to become their medication. It's not a good medication at all, because we are dealing with deep spiritual sickness, and watch pornographic images, watching these idols in the music industry that prop up every few times, those are not adequate medication. And what we're going to do is that we're going to make ourselves even ill. We're going to deprive ourselves even more. And that's what we're seeing in the kids now. They're reaching out for all of this false medication. They're reaching out for all of these things that they feel like will validate them. It's in the Instagram likes, it's in Facebook media, it's in the Twitter feeds, it's in everything now. Those are what the kids are reaching out for, because they're hurt. We're all hurt, and they don't know what to get anymore. They just don't know. The elders have dropped as much and passed blame, because as I explained before, I'm not in the business of like just judging, because I understand that the elders are human beings as well and they have hurt, but there has to be some change, you know. You have to, like, when people when people come back from work, tell your kids you love them, give them the effort, because you know when themselves and they're feeling so empty and so devoid of power, track, you know. So I think my request to elders who are listening, to elders who might discuss this with, is that tell them that going the little extra step in just reinforcing your love for a child, reaffirming their power and self-esteem is in their voice and not in things that you have to watch, like porn and stuff. It's going to go a long way. It's really going to go a long way. And that's just my 2 cents on it. So thank you.
Wow, that was a wonderful point, and I hope a lot of elders really heard about that. Before I do let Skin Deep go, I don't know, because in my family, my parents did say that I was a wonderful child of God. You know, they did say I was a wonderful person, but they didn't really say that they loved me. They did actions that showed love, but in our culture, we don't really say I love you. And I hope that going forward, we can do that a little bit more, because we do need to empower our children. It's not enough to just buy your child whatever they need. Please, please speak life into your children. Speak life into them. It's really important. Ms. Rootz, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that it's an absolute science, you know, like we're taught when we do teachers training that some of these elite schools, so in the UK you have like Eton and these real elite schools where the Prime Minister and the Queen and all these, you know, upper class people send their children. They actually tell their children that you are going to be future leaders. You are amazing. You are this is a science. It's called word power. It has a vibration. You can set people up just by the way you talk to them and let them know who they are from a very young age. This raises natural confidence. If you're to do the opposite and tell them they're no good, you're going to fail, then most likely they are going to fail. So we can see the repercussions of that in community. You can see that the way that people are spoken to, they actually become that. So I just wanted to just add that, you know, it's an absolute science, word power. We're taught to be positive in the classroom. We're taught to raise aspirations. We're taught to be reflective in our language and all these kind of things, because we're bringing the younger generation through. So I just wanted to add that, yeah, very important that you're conscious of your words.
Skin Deep, thank you so much for being here once again. What did you want to add?
Thank you very much. Well, I seen the title, and I don't think the elders felt off because they didn't know. My family I live in the north part of America, the east, New York. And my great grandmother on my maternal side, she was part of the first migration from the South. So when you don't know, you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I was born in the late 70s. I grew up in the crack era. And here in the West, is, how can I say? We was born with the blue blockers on, like with the shades on. So you don't know. But when you get that information, you have to pass it on to your children. I'm a grandmother. So
No way.
when you know, I am. When you know better, you do better. When you get the information, apply it. And I won't tell my age, but I just found out about a lot of things in the last 3 years. So now, as I'm unlearning myself, my children, you know, I get a lot of pushback because I have adult children. I have teenagers and I have a preteen. So I get a lot of pushback of like, hey, we can't do this like this anymore because it wasn't the right way. So I focus like on my preteen and my grandchildren. Okay, I empower them, I hug them, I love them. And what you said, action, you know, love is an action word because anybody can say I love you. And if the action don't meet up with what you're saying, it's pointless. I hope you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just all about unlearning and relearning and just really sticking to it. And you're going to go through those bumps and everything. I'm going through it now. I'm fighting the school system because they want me to vaccinate my children. And I told them no. My youngest girl, I told them no. Well, that's educate. It's so much that we just gotta just unlearn. We need to teach our own children on everything, empowerment, like you said, speak life into them. And it's not gonna happen overnight. And you will get a lot of pushback. Society over here, I mean, just Imperial is just, it's just if we don't get our children away from this society and build our own society, we're just going to lead them into doomness. That's it. If we don't come together, us elders, and show and learn from the youth, and just, we just got to get it together. It's not going to happen overnight. That's all I have to say. Yeah, I just got to just keep pushing forward for greatness and unlearn and relearn, unlearn and relearn, and that's it. But that's my take.
I like that point. I like that point because that's true. What if they didn't know? No, you're right about that because when I look at my parents, I mean, in terms of raising me, they did a wonderful job, and I'm not saying that because of who I am. Like I'm saying that because they did. They really did. But I still don't understand how they didn't know about colonization and slavery. I don't know. But you're right. If they didn't know,
Well,
they didn't know.
well, let me take my father, for example. My father is a Vietnam veteran, and he grew up in Ocala, Florida. So in his time, you know, his father became late when he was 7. His mother became late when he was 16. So you're bouncing around as a child. And back in those days, you know, it wasn't all pretty, you know. And then he came up to the north. So he like really raised his own self, put his own self through college, went into the army, did all of that, but he still didn't know how to empower his own children. He just was a provider and a protector and didn't use the word I love you and didn't like hug or anything like that. So when you just don't, when they don't know, they just don't know. And I sit and I talk with my father about his life. And that's another thing. The elders and before us, they don't talk about their life, their past life, or how they grew up and things of that nature, because it was a lot of trauma. We have deep embedded trauma in us, generations of generation. And, you know, us African Americans, most of us can't even go past your great grandmother because you don't know nobody else. You don't know nobody else. So there's no, the empowerment, excuse me, white supremacy been doing this for hundreds of years. It started way before we even was forced over here, or so, however you want to put it. It's been started. And they use the same method, and they're still using the same method. And if we don't get our own system, we will be continuing to be this way, fighting amongst each other. My ego is bigger than yours. Nobody, you know, it's like our people globally do not want to learn from each other, you know, and it's a very small percentage who do want to learn, you know. It's just, and the only history I ever knew was African American. I'm learning history from Africa. I'm learning the African history in the UK. It's a lot that we done missed out on. And it's only one common denominator, and those are the Manzungus. You know, they stick to any other group of people will stick together with their own people. But if they got problems, you will never know, because they still stand by each other side by side. So that's my take. I love y'all, and we're gonna get it right. It's just gonna take time and communication, and, you know, more behind the scene and grassroots. But now with everything that's going on, it's like, how are we gonna maneuver? Even with being on these platforms, we don't think they're listening and watching. Oh, they are.
Of course.
So yeah, have a great day.
You are correct, because I think in the beginning I was like, I was focusing so much on the bad elders that are out there, but yeah, there are really good elders out there, you know.
Yeah, they are.
I just have to, I guess, ignore the ones that are showing out on Instagram.
Well, how can I say? I wouldn't say ignore. I use my father as a case study, because there's a lot of things he just didn't know, because there was no one there to guide him into manhood. Even one is my mother, you know, and my grandmother. I love her and I miss her so much. She was a party woman. So it's like she provided and she did her own thing, you know. When you don't talk to your elders to find out what was really going on, you'll never know. They keep it so deep inside them. And living here in the West, as Sister Denise said, the crack era really, really damaged us. It's just so much. Even the school system damages us, because I seen with my last child to where everything she drew was the brown and black people. And as she got into like 4th and 5th grade, all the brown and black people stopped being on the paper. Everything was blanco, the Mzungu people. She wanted to straighten her hair, you know. And it's just like, man, it's psychological too, you know. We got to start teaching our own children and our future generation, because right now, it's like, can we pass the baton to them? And what Miss Rootz saying, you got, I'm right now, I'm almost 50. So it's like, I have to play myself in a better position. I don't, how can I say, with the generation behind, I don't try to fit in with them. I'm like, no. I said, hey, I let them know, like, listen, this is not cute.
Yeah.
If you don't let them know, and you befriend them, they're not going to look at you as an elder. They're going to look at you as their equal. And
We'll get back.
being a mom, you learn a lot. I'm telling you. But I have to go cook dinner, everyone. Y'all have a beautiful night or morning. And I enjoy, being on here. Hey, Mr. What's his name? Mukisa? Mr. Mukisa, hey. Or is it Mr. Uganda?
It's it's whatever you want.
Yeah, it's I'm interchanging between both Mr. Uganda and Mr. Mukisa. I just felt that Mr. Mukisa was just too personal. It's my actual surname, so I was like, I don't want to get like a stalker over here and stuff, you know. But yeah, it's calm. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Y'all have a beautiful night or morning. It's afternoon here. And talk to you guys later.
Thanks so much for chiming in.
Bye-bye.
I think Skin Deep made some pertinent points there. A couple of them that I just want to go back to.
Yeah.
The first one, she said that the one that resonated with me with regards to going forward, she kind of put this vision in my head, like, what is this place going to be like in 20 years' time? You know, can you imagine the UK, America, and Canada in 20 years' time?
I'm not raising my future children here. I cannot.
So with those thoughts in place, then what are we going to do about it? You know, so that bit. And also she mentioned about the generation above us not speaking, holding their history, not talking about their traumas, and not passing on the stories so we can learn from it. I mean, why?
Ms. Rootz, I don't want to interrupt. I'll let you go, but that's what I'm personally missing. My grandparents never told their story, and they didn't think it was valuable, but since they never told their story, I feel bad. I don't want to cry, but my grandfather on my dad's side, he's gone. I'll never get that link. He served apparently in the army. I'll never get that link. I'll never know what happened. I'll never know what he did. Now that I ask my parents, can you guys tell me a little bit more? They never ask. It's like a part of me, a part of our history just died. You know?
I agree.
I don't want that to keep happening. Like, continue, please.
I think it was shamed into our history, because I didn't know anything about mine either, but they didn't share it because it was a shame. I mean, when you know and subliminally you've been taught that you are the bastard children of slaves and your history starts and ends there, why would you want to share that? You know, why would you want to keep reliving the trauma of you less than someone else and you're worthless, or, you know? So I think that's probably has a lot to do with why the elders didn't pass on their history. And it's for us to do it. I wish some of my great-grandfathers, I could have got more history. Honestly, I probably know more of my family history than anybody, including my grandparents at this point. And I'll tell you why. It's my youngest son. I didn't know a few years ago. I didn't know anything about him, but he went to a multicultural school in elementary school, and he came home with a project one day of family history. And he asked me, and I felt so bad as a father. He said, you know, some of his friends were Asian. They can go back, you know, hundreds of years of their lineage, and some of his other friends could. And all I knew was my grandparents and that we were descendants of slaves. So it hurt me so bad as a father, because I couldn't help my son, that I made a vow to myself that I will find out our history, and I have, and I've traced it back as far as I can, and it's going to be a lifelong mission to put together the pieces of the history. And I wish I could have got more information out of especially my great grandparents, my grandparents too, but my great grandparents, that history, you can't get that back. But I think going forward, we're gonna have to start with us. I think the best and the worst thing that ever happened to us was the internet, and this was the tool that we've been waiting for to have this revolution going. Because before they could stop information by stopping you from being able to read, by putting it in a book. And they still lock books away that they don't let you read with information.
Johnny, let me not cut you off, but get this. You guys know how I said I learned about slavery and all the stuff that happened to our people in the West, right?
Yeah.
The first African history course I ever took was in the West. And guess who taught me?
Oh, Mzungu.
It was a Scottish woman.
Wow.
She was teaching us about African history. And she also, she was someone who, she has a degree, like she's a doctor, she has a PhD. So she was telling us stories and she showed us videos of her going to Kenya, her going to museums in Kenya. She had access to a lot of private Kenyan files, right? When I saw those videos, I did not see a lot of Kenyan people there, but I saw a whole bunch of them there. Why are they in our museums? You know, it's like, huh? So when you were talking about history and how our history is hidden, it's true. But then do we even care about our history? Because why is someone in Scotland so interested in what happened in Kenya 1,500 years ago?
It's spiritual warfare. They still our instruments of power, our history, and they hold them for themselves. That's how they've been controlling us for so long. That's why they got body parts, they got everything related to Africa in the museum, and we still under colonization. This cloud, you think that we're not, we still are. These people, some of these people are instruments of Mzungu, Tuba, wannabe supremacy, even the leaders, and they take the bag in order to take care of themselves, and they sell everybody out. What we're gonna have to do is we got to weed some of these people out. All these, these people in this music industry, all these people that we look at, all these politicians and people that's in power, they are the problem. They are the sellouts that keep, and they hold the line or hold the water buckets for Mzungu wannabe supremacy. And what's the problem? They got it everywhere. Everywhere you go, they in charge. So until we can get out that system, but like I say, back to what I was saying, the internet, this is the tool that we've been waiting for to do it. So now we connected globally the way we've never been able to do before. We can pass information globally. That's why they don't have good internet on the continent. Why? It's the same satellites in the sky, but they make sure we got the worst internet, and they make sure that we can't communicate, so we can't pass information. Because every person see one of your videos or somebody else's videos and pick up a piece of knowledge, it's a trigger point to have them wake up. And every person wake up, they wake more people up. So solution-wise, everything we doing is a solution. Every forum, every conversation, every person we talk to, this is the war. I'll leave it there.
Thank you for your contribution.
I agree with you, Brother Donnie. Is now we just got to move forward from here. Like they say, we can't go back. We can't stay here. We got to keep moving forward.
Yes.
Sammy's Treasure, welcome to the stream. Sorry for taking so long, but I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
No, you're okay. It's fine. Hello, good afternoon to you all. Or should I say good evening? I'm just gonna have to agree with what all of you have said. But when it comes to the elders and if they value like talking about the African history, I don't know, because when you look at it for the younger ones like me, my mom is 50. So I'm just gonna say most of our parents don't even know the history. So how do they even tell us when they don't even know? And this is a big issue uh, for us because, like the saying goes, if you know where you're coming from, you're going to know where you're going. you know and there's a lot of young people or youth that really don't know a lot about the African history. People like me, the little that I know right now, I had to teach myself. So many things. I had to teach myself about slavery, because I was in a private school and I was never taught things like that. The only thing I knew was like Shakespeare, you know, and a little history about Nigeria, like things fall apart. But for the most part, I learned more British history than even my country's history, which is the Gambian history. So I know that in some public schools, they would teach the African history and Gambian history, but it's just to a certain extent, it's not that very deep. That's why you would see young people come out of school, they graduate, and then you can question them about the history of their country or African history, and they cannot answer you. And I think this is very sad. And from now on, like, we should make a difference, because when I think of myself, I'm like, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. I don't want to be in my 20s to know what my great great grandparents went through. I want to let them know in the early age. And like Uncle Donny said, like it's kind of like a shame for them to share what they went through sometimes. But for me, I don't see anything that you should be ashamed of, because that is just going to um, lead your children through the right path, because they're never going to forget that. They're going to know where they're heading to, because they know what happened to their families. So, history is something that is very important, and I think Africans, we should do better. We should
Africans don't think
do
history.
better than this. At least say that again.
I was like, Africans don't think that history is important.
Yeah, we don't think so, but fortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunate or it's fortunate. It's like when we grow up, that's when we try to find out things by ourselves. Like I said, this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to a lot of African youth. We just keep saying, I am woke, but not everybody's woke. You are not woke if you don't know your history. You are not woke. You get what I'm saying? And I would say, to me, I still know just a little bit. I don't think I know a lot. I'm still gonna make my own research, because of course I can make my own research. But to the younger ones right now that are, in the teenagers and the people in their 20s, I think they need help. They need help, because we need them. Because this generation, as you guys can see, you guys were saying, I don't want to bring up my kids in a place like this in the next 20 years. And I'm sure most of us don't want to. We would like to go back home, teach our history, live in peace in our homes. But like you said, African Millennial, look at how this generation, how bad this generation turned out to be. So that means our kids and grandkids are even going to be worse. I am so scared for my child, because they're going to school and I don't even know like what they're teaching them. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm not in the classroom. Yes, I see assignments coming in, but that's not all they're teaching them. Yeah. We know better than that. And I'm so scared sometimes when we talk about things that I don't want to bring up that topic, like homosexuality and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, my son, my kids, I cannot imagine having someone teach my child like that. Or I cannot imagine even my child coming to me and telling me that, hey, I like boys, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but anyways, I'm just gonna stop there. Hello, Mr. Mukisa, Mr. Uganda.
Nice to hear from you, Sammy. Binta.
Yes, same here.
Does anyone want to jump into that?
Yeah, I do want to add something. I'm really glad that a lot of you guys jumped onto this point about knowing our own history on the continent, because I tell people all the time, my dad looks like King Tut. Like he has like the features of like King Tut, and it's like crazy. And I show my siblings the pic. Do you know there's like there's King Tut and there's Queen of Tyre or something? My brother looks like Queen of Tyre as well, like the male version. And what happened was that I went to a lot of my siblings. I was like, oh, like, isn't this crazy? Like that they look like the Egyptians and shit. And my maternal grandmother, she's Munyankole tribe. It's a tribe in Uganda, and she looks like some old ancient images of like these, like, you know, like ancient images and stuff in it. And I was asking like them, oh, isn't it weird that we don't about people we look like and great people that we look like? And the conversation just went nowhere, because I think I was a bit mystified as to how we learn about this empire who are raped and killed rather than great people who we look like. And that's a very powerful thing when you look like the figures who they're trying to pass off as other people, because they wouldn't invest so much like expense and like capital into this whole whitewashing regime they've got, like all of this propaganda situated so that they detach us from things that are great and they put themselves in the vicinity of things that are great. And that's really weird, because I was like, do you see what I mean? Like, there's just things that are very negative continent. Whenever people always mention the continent, they always have to mention that we're living with pigs and giraffes and all of that is very like annoying stuff, and they to remove us from the very, very powerful figures of the past. And it's very, very powerful to me that my dad looks like one of the figures, but it's very distinct that I don't know anything about from my parents. And it's, if you look like them, you are them. So I'm trying to figure out, we don't have a curriculum where we don't learn about our own great people, you know, and it's very, very sad. And you guys brought up a good point, and I want to attach it to my point about how they're trying to whitewash that piece of very powerful ancient Egyptian history. But then there's always nearby, there's always one of them. And I'm not racist. I want to make sure I stress that, okay? Because I work in the UK. I'm gonna have to work with like a lot of like, it's a very multicultural place. I think people, although we say it, I don't think people actually understand how multicultural it is in the UK in particular. Like, it's very, very varied, isn't it? So, but I'm just saying all of this to say it's very weird. It's very surprising that the things continue to happen the way they do. There's always one of them right next to erasure. So they always want to make sure they add one of their likeness to us. And it's like when African Millennial talk about the museum, it's like they have like a monopoly over things that look like us. So we have that power, because information is power. And like Inter said, when you know who you are, you know where you're going. And it's like we've monopolized areas where we can get true healing, because it's very powerful to know great people. But what they do in like the American school system and system in the West is that they try to disempower people like themselves. You know, they teach people that you were raped and you were raped, it was butt breaking, all of this stuff. They make sure to remind you that your elders went through all of this and they ain't shit. And that's the thing that they try to do. And it's also that we're very critical of elders. Remember that the state in the US is also trying to take over the role as the parent. You know what I mean? They're trying to make sure they control your kids, take it away from you, social services. They can do, and that's how so many kids get fucked up in the social services system and they get raped and shit. They're not looking after the kids properly. They want to purport how they're out for you, but what they're really role as a parent, they're teaching the kids that things that kids don't need to know at that age. They're behaving in ways that your kids want to see. Like, notice that a lot of people are from a working class background, and that's very, very significant, because when you come from a working class background, you're less likely to be in the home with your kids because you're going to be working, and if you're not working, you're sleeping. So what they do is that they flood the media with these images to teach your kids so much shit that you don't even know what's coming at your kids. They teach your kids about things that you would have probably learned in like your mid-20s, but here your kid comes to you and they know all of this stuff. Why? Because the media wants to take your role as wants to take your role as the parent, and they want to lead your child to destruction. They want to make sure that they keep everyone working in such a low status, because they want to make sure we stay in the working class, because if you're working more, you're sleeping more, you're stressed more, you're not focusing on what the kids are learning. And that's the problem. They infiltrated so much of our lives and of our institutions that it's not even funny anymore. It's crazy. When you go to the history books, they're there. When you go inside your home, they are quite literally there, sending and transmitting messages to the kids. When going to work, the racism, the institutional racism's there. When they go into the schools, the racism is there. It's like crazy. And it's just like, we have to find a way to make sure that we create safe zones, you know, because a lot of this stuff, I'm like, I can only imagine what the elders went through. That's why I'm not too quick to say you couldn't, because it's crazy. I can't imagine what they've been through. I think Martin Luther King, while I was critical of him, I have to also remember that I think just prior to his death, he had even said that he has led his people onto a sinking ship, you know? And he said something to the effect of, yeah, he had led them to a sinking ship, and it was time he should have focused more on economic empowerment as opposed to integration, because what integration was doing, what you're doing is essentially selling them a false hope. Maybe if they come around us, they'll start to like us. But racism is very rational, you know? Racism is very deliberate. It's rational in the sense that it's not good. Rational means that it's like a 1 + 1 = 2 situation. It makes sense. It's not moral, but it makes sense, you know? And racism is rational in that if you continue to disempower this specific class of people, you remain at the but I think that's what Martin Luther King started to realize towards the end of his days, is that we should have actually been teaching our people how to be so self-sufficient. They don't even need to look to you guys to get loans, to like need any sort of dependency. And yeah, that's just my 2 cents. You know, they're just everywhere. We need to find a way to make sure that we keep ourselves to ourselves, because we're stronger that way. And when I was looking at the economics for pre-integration in the US, the economics were better, the household better, the rates were better. The solution isn't in proximity to whiteness, it's actually in investment towards people that look like us and only us. Because when we invest in us, when we invest in our history, when we invest in our institutions and keeping ourselves in check, we can rise and we can be a threat. And I think that Wall Street is a good example of how great we can become, but also our capital, the state will invest in destroying us because they know we will be so. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
I think I agree with you, Mr. Mukisa, 100%. The Black people in general need financial power. And I think when we get that, we're good. I don't want to say much, but you know, we need to work on financial power, because it looks like that is our problem, you know. Everywhere we go, we are wanting to be accepted. Everywhere we go, you know, there is the people that are in the front are our enemies, you know. So we need financial power so we can be able to do a lot of things by ourselves. For example, in this media that we're talking who controls it? So I don't, like I said, I don't want to talk much on that because you have said it all.
I agree. I think we need to remember too that this is spiritual warfare, and that we are spiritual beings having a natural existence. We need to realize everything they do has a purpose, and it's to keep the power structure in place of Mzungu wannabe supremacy. So as we take back our resources, as we take back our history, you know, even today, I remember earlier this year I heard that they were remaking Cleopatra for the umpteenth time. And what did they do again? They picked another Mzungu to be a princess of Egypt. So everything, you know, our subconscious is photographic. Our memories, we forget, we go to our daily lives, but our subconscious is photographic. It remembers everything that we see and come in contact with, along with carrying our memories of a lifetime and lifetimes. But that's why they do stuff. I don't know if y'all remember that experiment they did back in advertising back in the day in the movies, where they would play movies and then they would flash like a Pepsi commercial, somebody drinking Pepsi. It'd be like 1 second or something so fast that you wouldn't see it, or popcorn or something. And they did that, and then they saw that it would make people get up and buy more popcorn or whatever they were trying to sell. So I said that to say they've understand the programming that they do for a long time. We're just getting to the point where we're able to talk about it and being able to share it because of the internet, and we're more connected. But this thing is way deeper than what we see on the outside. But we got to take our history back, number one, because as long as they hold our history, our instruments of power, our ancestors, as long as they hold them in their possession, they have power over us. That's why when you said African Millennial, you see them in the museums. You always see them in the museums. Anywhere there's some history, I don't care who history it is, they there, and they on the forefront trying to steal those instruments of power, and they place themselves in that history. And that's why they place themselves in all the history books. They rewrite everything to make them the hero. And I think the problem is our people, we are spiritual people, and we just want to be left alone, want to live our lives, take care of our kids. We don't want that. So when we came in face with the people that wanted everything, like don't care about nobody or nothing but themselves, they don't even care about their own people. It's kind of hard to prepare for a war with an enemy that has no morals or no caring about anybody else. So
I
I don't follow.
question.
Yeah.
Though, knowing all of this, then, what are the responsibilities of the elder generation towards the community? And I want to hear what Denise says.
I think the responsibility of our elders in the community now is to listen to our youth. Is to listen to you guys. You guys have the grit and the fight and the determination. And I feel like my elders before me, they had their opportunity. They didn't have any ideas. They didn't have the fight. They didn't have the grit. What we need to do now, we need to support you guys. We need to support you and get on board with what it is that you guys are trying to do. Because if we had an explanation, if we had a solution, I think we would have implemented it by now. I just, like I say, my grandmother and my mother, those generations were beat down. You got to understand that they was tortured. They came up through Jim Crow. So they were scared to say or do anything that would go against what the Mzungu said. And like I say, your generation, y'all don't have that fear. You don't have that fear. It's hard to do something when you're scared to death. Even though it would be for the betterment of your people. When you're scared to death, they beat it out of us. They tortured it out of us. So, and you guys don't have that. You don't have that fear. You don't have those memories. And now what you're going on, you see the injustices that's going on around the world, and you're enraged, but you're not scared because you never had to go through being burned alive and being hanged and being castrated and being butt broken and having your children sold from you. And if you say something, they burn your house down, run you out of town. And so it's a lot of fear there. And I'm not saying that you're not justified in your anger, because you are. We supposed to fight to them. We are, not only are we a spiritual people, but we are also warriors. We ain't no punks over here. But when you got hundreds and hundreds of years of that, and they're repressing your memories, and they tying your hand everywhere you turn, you're just trying to make sure your babies survive. You're trying to make sure that they don't talk back and look the white man in the eye, so they won't be murdered. And so we've instilled that in our children for the last couple of 100 years. And so now we're coming up out of it, because like I say, it's that time now. It wasn't time before, but it's that time now because it is written, it is in the word that it's going to happen like this. So no matter what the Mizzou, two balls say or do, they can't stop it. That's why you see the world over. I mean, when what happened with George Floyd here in the U.S., they were protesting all around the world, all in Israel and Iran and Afghanistan, and all over in the continent, everywhere. Switzerland, even Switzerland, out everywhere. So they can't stop this movement. And I understand how you feel, sis, with the anger, but I promise you, it's going to get better for us as a people because it is our time now. It's our time.
I agree.
Indeed. And that's what this is all about. That's why we're even on the YouTube channel having these conversations. It's part of that transition. It's part of the unification. We can't see the end vision yet, but we can all feel that there's a shift, So optimism is the way forward. And I do feel that it's worth saying that we've got elders and we've got ancestors. The elders, in our mind's eye, were trapped and couldn't do enough. They probably did do enough, but to your generation it wasn't enough. But our ancestors did enough. They've left us with so much things to be inspired by, and they're still there if you know how to tap in. So as I say, it's that thin line and understanding who we are as spiritual beings and what we can tap into for inspiration, knowledge, and messages, so to speak. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, I believe that we can now start talking about solutions and start closing out this panel. I did like, though, how everyone talked, because I feel like, it's just therapeutic when you have some people say, okay, we couldn't do this because of X, Y, and Z, and to just remind us. Because I've spoken to some other elders as well, and they said that people in the younger generation are really unruly and they're this and they're that. But I feel like if the conversations aren't, well, you didn't do this, well, you didn't do this either, you don't behave. I feel like when we actually be honest and we just have open dialogue about certain feelings, I feel like that's the way to go. Because initially, I had a very militant approach. But after hearing what Denise said and what Donnie said and what Mr. Makisa said, and also what Sammy is saying in regards to the future, I understand. I think we do need to have more open and honest conversations. And like I said, I understand that, white supremacy did a lot for us. But if we let white supremacy allow us not to talk to each other, we're going to have this conversation again in another 50 years. So we just gotta, even if we're fighting, we gotta fight each other with love, not fight each other with anger. Because the more that we do that, we as a people will continue to go lower and lower and lower and lower. Now, I will add that in terms of dependency, I personally don't depend on anyone else anymore. I look onto us. They're Chinese, they're Lebanese, they're all doing things, but I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about us. We're gonna start closing out. Miss Rootz.
I'm just gonna say quickly something. What you said is right. This is what I always say. I'm not worried about the Chinese and the Lebanese. I am more worried about how to stop them from taking what belongs to me. You get what I'm saying? But as long as I can't stop them, they would still do what they want to do because they have the power to do so. And the difference between, I would say, the African elders and the ones in the diaspora is that the ones in the diaspora have been exposed to a lot of hate, racism. And for that reason, they know a lot and they know when to listen to us. But if you're African, you know how they always say, oh, no matter how grown a child is, you can never see what the elders see. That I don't believe that. Even if you climb the Iroko tree, you will not see it. But I'm sorry to say this, and I'm saying this in a respectful way. But this whole time, like, what benefits has it been to us in Africa? Because we have all these elders in position. Even to have a younger person to be a minister is a problem. But we have all these elders, but we're still backwards. So why don't we listen to the young ones? Why don't we listen to the youth? You know, because we also have seen a lot. We might be young, but we also have seen a lot. Most of us in the diaspora, we've seen a lot of things, not comparable to our brothers and sisters, but we did see a lot, and we are, for that reason, we are kind of woke. You know, we have a little bit of experience. But if you go to some African countries, for example, I'm just going to give an example, like my country. If you should ask my president today who the history, like the slave trade history, I believe the only thing he would be able to tell you is Kunta Kinte, because that's what everybody knows. The rest is history. Nobody knows. He would not be able to tell you this. And I'm just saying this in a respectful way, not to bash him, but that's the reality. So they need to listen to us, the young ones, too. Because these are the things that happen in Africa. That's why I said the diaspora elders are not included in this. These are things that happen in Africa. It is believed that elders are always right. And even the young ones, when we try to correct them, it looks like we're disrespecting, and that makes you scared to say something. And that's not right.
Yeah, I was given an example earlier about Nigeria. Well, it's everywhere in Africa, to be honest, but you as a youth, you can't speak out. That's why even me, I was scared to have this conversation, because I was scared that now that I have this conversation, people are going to think that I don't like the elders. But other than traditional values, the elders haven't taught me much about who I am. I'm sorry. But I guess still, when it comes to Africa, I feel like it's still the youth's responsibility. We have to do it. Definitely.
Interior garage door.
Okay, we're gonna start closing out now. Mr. Musika, did you have anything to add?
Can everyone hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a little bit lost for words in like a good sense. I think I just want to advocate to the elders that we love you and everything's going to be okay, you know? As everyone has brought up, we don't want to take away from the fact that a lot of our elders are traumatized. And though I don't share the African American experience, the Caribbean experience, and stuff like that, I know it pales in comparison. But my grandmother lived during the period of Idi Amin, and our part of the country was subject to a lot of brutality, and like the armies would like break inside the houses and stuff. But that's just to say, even I noticed that with the ones who are more cultured, like my grandmother, they tend to hold on to more values of like, don't talk back, don't do this, respect this, don't question authority, all of that. And I think there's a relationship between trauma and wanting to stick to societal controls to control children so they won't also endure that trauma. But we can't make decisions out of fear, or we can't latch on to cultural means as with fear, you know. So what our elders have done with fear is they actually weaponized our cultural norms, because they've made it that we can't question when two barbs or all of these things like treat us badly, and we're just meant to keep it down, get money, don't question things, just stick out for yourself. But that's not the way it has to be, you know. And I don't have a lot of capital. I'm not like wealthy and like doing shit like that. I'm not like I'm a simple guy in. My contribution to help also, because like someone in the comments said, wisdom and helping your community has no age limit, is able to give out wisdom. So my contribution to this chat is that no matter what age you are, you have a role to play. But I would say, but wasting time, we ought to give our best wisdom to the ones who know that will take it far. Like there's a quote in the Bible that says, "It's meaningless to cast your pearls among the swine." And the reason why it says that is because swine do not respect the value of your pearls. You know, they don't recognize what you're throwing at it. That's really a human, it's really something that someone like us can appreciate. So really invest your time. If you see your children are so promised and that they can take it, cast your pearls on the ones who want to learn, and cast your pearls on the ones who are able to receive it. So many people are at the stage they can't receive the information yet. Everyone has their time when the creator chooses them to want to receive wisdom. Everyone has their time. But for those who are ready, it's never too late to start teaching them about who they are and what power they have. You know, everyone has a voice, you know, and that's my contribution. You know, elders, we don't hate you. We just see where this is going, and we just want to help you. Okay, we don't want to like completely sidestep you and remove you. We never do that, but we need to it's going to be a joint effort, okay, from all help, not just a one-man fight. It's not just Martin Luther King fighting. It's not just Kwame Nkrumah fighting. It's not just Nelson Mandela fighting. It's everybody's fight, and that's our contribution. Everyone has a social responsibility to pass wisdom. I drill my siblings' head with so much useless information. In a year, make sure you tell me what I told you about all the ancient history I'm telling you, because it's going to help you one day. When you look back and you want to see people who look like you that were great, that were born millennia ago, you're going to have a point of reference because I told you. And that's the contribution. Everyone has a part to play. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukisa, Mr. Uganda, Mr. Everything. Mr. I Speak Power into People. Guys, check out his channel. His name is Mr. Uganda on YouTube. Denise, what are your last contributions to this conversation upon everything that was said?
What I would like to say first, African Millennial, is that I have always, since I've known you, I've always been impressed with your maturity and your wisdom. You're very wise and you're very mature for your age. I listen to you speak often, not only on your own panel, but other places. And you're a wise young lady. And with that being said, you have a right to have your questions answered. You do. And you know, I guess I could be considered an elder. You know, I try to do that to the best of my ability. But what I want to say is I want to leave you with a Bible verse, which is Proverbs 18, which states that a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise commands knowledge, but the mouth of the fools gush folly. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere and keeping watch of the wicked and the good. You know, what they're saying is, you know, you're coming to us for answers, and we can't be yelling and screaming and doing all this. We have to be kind. We have to be patient. We have to have a loving word so you guys will want to share. And with that being said, the fifth commandment is to honor your mother and your father, which is interchangeable with honoring your elders. And as long as you do that, you will be blessed. Now, you're not supposed to be disrespected and taken advantage of, but I don't think you're coming in a disrespectful way, looking for answers, seeking answers. That's your right. And I think you're doing an awesome job. Keep that fire, keep that tenacity, and you know that's what makes you who you are. Don't change that. Keep fighting, sis. Thank you for allowing me to speak on your panel.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Now, before we go to Uncle Godfather, I do want Sammy's Treasure to go once more because we didn't really get a full, complete thought from Sammy's Treasure. Sammy's Treasure, upon everything that was said and upon everything that was discussed, what are your closing thoughts towards the topic? Sorry about that. Go ahead, Sammy's Treasure. Okay, I don't think she's here. Uncle Donnie, what do you have to say?
Thank you again for having me on the panel. Peace and power to everyone. I like Denise's response, and you know that thing about respect and it's a must when it comes to dealing with your elders. You know, it's how you approach. It's like they say, it's not what you say. It's always how you say it. You know, your intentions speak a lot when it comes to this divide. And I liken it to being an adult. I know you haven't got here yet, but teaching your first child how to drive a car. I don't know if y'all ever did that, but it's a terrifying experience teaching your kid how to drive. I remember teaching my daughter how to drive a car, and we was going on trying to get on the highway and make a right, and she drove straight to the left through 3 lanes of traffic on the highway. So I say that to say it's something that we got to get through. We got to learn how to turn the wheel over to the next generation and how to equip them with what they need so that they can, you know, drive this car into the future, into this movement. But, you know, it's hard. It's scary for us. So sometimes, you know, I think that's where the respect comes in and how you approach us, because, you know, my daughter didn't realize that she was scaring me to death, and I couldn't show her that she was scaring me to death at the time because I didn't want her to panic. But at the same time, it was a lesson that needed to be learned, so we both had to go through it. So as we go through this, let's remember it's how we approach our elders, and not what you say, it's how you say it. And remember that this is a relay race we in life, right? This is not a sprint, it's a relay race. And sometimes in that race, some people don't run as fast. They get the baton later, and the next person might got to run a little faster to make up the time. So, and that's where we at. So some of our elders could have did more. Some of our elders did the best that they can do, and some of them is just throwaways. So we got that in every generation. People that's just, you know, a waste to humanity. So, you know, we can't count them and put them in a category of everybody else. They outliers in this experiment. They not the experiment. And I think a lot of times they are the only ones that are given the spotlight and given the publicity is the ones that do the worst, instead of those that's out there on the front lines. You never hear about it. So I think we're making progress. Like I said, the internet is the key. Your platform and all the other platforms, Mr. Uganda there, I listen to him. I got a lot of respect for this young brother right here in his position. And you know, some things I don't agree with, but some things, you know, I don't have to agree with. We don't have to agree with everybody's position, as long as we understand it's about unity and we all in this same race together. So we should continue to just remember unity. We are one in this battle.
Thank you, Godfather Donnie. Godfather is a joke that we have. It's a running joke because Mr. Donnie is so classy with it. Like, geez, teach us. Go and subscribe to his channel if you already haven't. He does have some awesome, cool tips and cool videos. They're really nice and nice and short and concise and straight to the point. So go and check out his channel if you haven't already. Miss Rootz, you've been quiet for a while.
I've been listening, learning, inspired. Honestly, what an amazing session this evening. You should be very proud of yourself. Like, real pearls of wisdom got dropped. So, yeah, as I say, on cloud 9 at the moment with everything that I've just taken in and absorbed. So thank you, everybody, for your contributions. And that's just because you pose such an amazing question. It could only come from your generation, and we have a responsibility to try and answer that for you. So I think everybody on the panel did try and answer, and it, you know, you got it from all different perspectives and different angles and different layers and from different generations. And maybe there's many other people of your generation that needed that answer too. And, you know, as you can see, it's not black and white. Did they fail us? It's not yes, it's not no. There's all these layers to it, you know? So it's important that you continue to think critically, continue to analyze, continue to have an open mind and an open perspective on everything, and try and not have things so black and white, yes and no. Nothing in life is yes and no. You know, nothing in life has a simple answer because we're part of the nature. The nature is a complex construct, you know? So that critical, analytical mindset is vital. And for us as elders, your elder, we need to just keep our eyes wide open now, stay woke, you know, especially now during this time of transition. You know, things are happening. As I said earlier, there's a shift. And we want to be part of that. And as everybody keeps saying on the panel, be ready to pass that baton on so that the foundations are solid. So that's how I would like to wrap things up this evening. Always a pleasure to be working in conjunction with you. I love the little network we've created. We bounce off each other really well. And I look forward to doing more of the conversations and being pragmatic in the future, you know, because the conversations are all good, but we need pragmatism, we need action. So I look forward to seeing how we move on with this.
Now, forgive me, guys. Forgive me. We're just gonna let the gentleman close out.
I look forward to doing conversation.
Hello?
Mega.
Being pragmatic in the future.
Yeah. That's my neighbour, you know, that's my neighbour.
So I look forward to seeing how we move on with this.
So we are gonna end the broadcast, guys. Forgive me. We're just gonna let the gentleman close out. Mega, you have to mute the playback. So we are gonna end the broadcast here, guys. Can you hear me? You have to mute the playback, the other YouTube that you're playing. It's a little distracting to the broadcast. Thank you. Did you have anything to add to this subject matter? Thank you for coming up. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having me, and thanks, Ms. Rootz, for sending the invitation to me. Unfortunately, I didn't catch all the conversation you've had so far, but I find the title very, very interesting. And I think when we look at the elders from an African perspective, we have to look at it from the fact that those of us who's come away from that setting, we have lost the understanding of how it works. You know, we found ourselves in an environment where statute rules have overtaken common law. You know, now we look at the world from the perspective of the laws rather than the community togetherness to go forward. You know, even the story of the Black man today, in my opinion, is now defined by the so-called Western environment we found ourselves in. You know, I remember going to an event a while ago here in the UK, and the topic was the broken Black men, and which in that meeting, it was a consensus that the black man is broken. And from a Western perspective, I can understand that. But I have lived, I grew up in an environment where the black man is very powerful, you know, and the community spirit, which takes lessons from the elders. They offer the necessary guidance, you know, to ensure that the younger ones don't derail. You know, all that is taken away here. Social services are responsible for your children. We give responsibility to government and we take it away from ourselves. If we come back as a community and understand that the power, the wisdom of the elders are very vital, you know, to our existence, and this is how we pass on from generation to generation. So that's my perspective.
I agree.
I don't know where African Millennial's gone, but really excited to see you on the screen, Mega. Enough love to you and thank you for your contributions.
Thank you.
Aaliyah, my sister, I see that you've come on the live stream as well. Aaliyah, you want to drop 2 pence?
Well, yeah, I had some 2 pence to drop before, but you know, I was doing stuff because I have kids, so you know, tomorrow is school day, so I was trying to arrange everything. Yeah, it's really interesting listening to these conversations. I learn a lot. I was just wondering what that link was, and I pressed it and it came to this. You shared it like a link on the chat, and I I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, very, very interesting. A lot of things that was said, especially with when I think there was a sister was saying some of our parents or even people before them didn't know, like, you know, they just don't know better, so they do what they can, and we need to kind of like we didn't know, we have to make the change, kind of. And I think that's very important. Instead of complaining, you know, just focusing on the solutions instead of the problem. What can we do? How can we overcome all this? And apart from all the differences we have, even in the community, you know, we speak different languages, we have different religions and beliefs and all this, but how do we come together? What was the linking point? Because if we don't focus on that, we're not going anywhere. I think that's what I can say for now.
Indeed, sis, and very grateful for your contribution. Now you know what that link is for. Maybe next week and the week after you can press it again and join in. But
yeah, I'll
good
try
to
and
see
join on
you.
time next time.
Okay, no
nice
problem.
To see everybody as well.
Thank you, sis. You
Well,
want to take it back over, African Millennial?
Yeah. So it was an interesting conversation. I definitely agree that there needs to be more pleasant dialogue. I think that the dialogue that I'm kind of used to seeing is just back and forth bittering, and it doesn't really take us anywhere.
Maybe we'll have to watch it when it's not live. I don't know.
So yeah, going forward, we just need to have more pleasant conversations. And now I do understand that I guess some people did the best that they could. You know, in the beginning when I was saying that every parent should give their child $10,000 minimum before they move out. Okay, I guess not every parent can do that, but that should be a thing, at least for every parent. Because $10,000 to me is not a lot of money, but it's something. So going forward in the next generation, I'm definitely going to take what I don't like from the elder generation and change that in the next generation. I do not want to talk too much because we've been here for a while, but I definitely want to thank everybody in the stream, everybody who participated, and those in the comments, and everyone in the playback. Thank you so much for being here, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.
Wait, please make sure you talk about the vaccination stuff, because that was a really good question you guys were having at the beginning, and I was like, you know, I have so much to say about the COVID and vaccination. You guys.
Okay, we'll talk about that next week. Yeah.
No,
right.
Don't do it.
Okay, bye guys.
I agree. I won't be doing it either, but yeah.
Bye.